Paratmanamekam Jagadbijamadyam Niriham Nirakaram Onkar Vedyam Yato Jayate Palyate Yena Vishvam Tamisham Bhajeli Yate Yatra Vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, so it's a matter of joy to be back here for a very short period. Actually, I was out of Calcutta for some time. I came back for some urgent work, so I got this one Sunday. So I thought, let us dedicate this time to some good thoughts. Next Sunday, I'll be leaving for Mayavati. That is on 12th. Next Sunday is 12th. So 12th morning, I'm leaving for Mayavati. So this is the only week available for us. So I'm not going into the Bhagavad Gita discussion. We finished the 9th chapter last month. So in June, we hope to start the 10th chapter. So today, I kept it open actually. So in the morning, I thought, let us discuss about one subject. So what is that we are going to discuss today? Today we shall delve into what are the main scriptures, Shastra of Hindu Dharma, and why we need Shastra. The question is why we need Shastra, scriptures, and what is the meaning of scriptures, and what are the main scriptures of Hindu Dharma. Every Hindu should know it. Usually there is a notion that the Christians have the Bible, the Muslims have the Quran, and the Hindus have the Gita. This is the usual idea which is prevalent. No, Gita is only a very minute portion of the huge corpus of wisdom which goes in the name of Shastra, the Hindu Shastras. That is what I wanted to discuss this point. So, what do we mean by the term Shastra in the Hindu context or the Indian context, scriptures? By Shastras, we essentially mean Vedas. Hindus should know that our foundational source of everything spiritual is Vedas, number one. And Vedas belong to a category. And that category is Shruti. There are two categories of scriptures in Hindu Dharma. One is Shruti and the other is Smriti. Shruti is what is Vedas. And everything outside of Vedas fall into the category of Smritis. This every Hindu should know. Now what do we mean by Vedas? Very important thing. Is Veda a book? It is not a book. Actually speaking, we Hindus, we don't have a book. Our entire Hindu Dharma is not based upon any one particular book. In fact, the foundation of Sanatana Dharma is not book at all. Whereas all other so-called Semitic faiths, they are essentially based upon a book. a book which came into existence at a certain point of time in history. Important point, everybody should know about. Every Indian and every Hindu should know how this Hindu dharma is unique and categorically different from other systems. You cannot equate Hinduism with other systems. No, it is wrong. You cannot equate. I am using the term equation, means the sign equal. No, it is not equal. It is not the same as other Semitic faiths. One of the main reasons is that Hinduism is not based upon any book. Why? Because Vedas are not books. So what are Vedas? Vedas, let me make it very simple. It is the eternally existing treasure of spiritual knowledge and principles. Eternally existing. Where is it existing? It is existing in the cosmic mind of Ishvara. It is eternally existing. It is coexistent with this Srishti itself. Again, I repeat this point. By Vedas is meant, technically speaking, two phrases are used by Shankaracharya, the great teacher of the Vedas. Ananta Jnana Rashi or Ananta Shabda Rashi. Rashi means a treasure, a collection. So Vedas refers to a collection of spiritual wisdom and principles eternally existing in the cosmic mind of Ishvara. So it is not a book. From time to time, great people, through the power of yoga, have accessed this treasure and they have brought it down to humanity. These great personalities are known as rishis. These are the technical things which every Hindu should know. How are we getting this great wisdom? It is coming through some rishi who accessed this eternally existing wisdom in the cosmic mind of Ishvara. So, Vedas are not books. Second important point, they didn't come into existence at a certain point of time in history. It is eternally existing. And third point, as far as the Vedas are concerned, it does not have any human origin. That's why Vedas are known as apaurusheya. It's a technical term. Apaurusheya means that which does not have an human origin. Anything which has an human origin, how much of a great that human personality might have been, they all fall into the category of smriti. That's why you see all the great spiritual teachers, like you can go back in history, like let us go back to the Gita itself. It has got a human origin. Krishna, Buddha, Shankaracharya, their teachings, modern times, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, they all have an origin. Anything which has got an human origin, it will fall into the category of smriti and not shruti. So, very broadly speaking, Hindus should know that our Shastra, scriptures, it can be categorized into two. Vedas, which is Shruti, which doesn't have a starting point in history, which is not a book, and which has got no human origin. It is not humanly originated. Anything outside of this, they all fall within the category of Smritis. So Vedas are four. We all know that. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Now, we are not going into the details of it. And Upanishads are the essence of the Vedas. That's why Upanishads and Vedas, they belong to the category of Shruti. Everything outside of that is all Smriti. Smriti has got an human origin. They all came into existence in the historical framework, and they are all books. They are all books. So the essence of Hindu Dharma is not in any one particular book. It is the so-called what should I say? It's an eternally existing, scientific, universal treasure of spirituality and principles, which is applicable to everyone. That is why Vivekananda and Shankaracharya repeatedly keeps on saying that this alone is Sanatana. Sanatana means that which is eternally existing. Anything which has come into existence at a certain point of time, it can be destroyed also. So many books have been destroyed. We don't know. These books may destroy. In fact, if you just look into the corpus of Hindu Shastras, Swami Vivekananda says that it was so huge that an entire library can be filled with Hindu Shastras. Today, much of that has been destroyed and disappeared. But even now, whatever is existing is so huge that it is a huge collection. So, on the one side, we have the Vedas, which is Shruti, and the other side, we have the Smriti. Now, under the Smriti, what are the things? I'll just touch upon these points. Everybody should know it. The four main Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda, they have got Upavedas. Now, these all are Smritis. Upavedas means like Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Arthashastra or Sthapatya Veda. They all are Upavedas and they all come under the category of Smriti, not Shruti. Then we have Vedanga, the six Vedanga: Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chandas, and Jyotisha. Now, these Vedangas, these six Vedangas are very much essential to understand the Vedas. Though they are not Shruti, they are Smriti, but they are essential. Vedangas, they are the limbs of the Vedas to understand the Vedas. For example, Shiksha is what? Phonetics. Phonetics means how to pronounce. In Sanskrit language, pronunciation is most important. To pronounce every Sanskrit varna, alphabet, and consonant correctly, the way it should be pronounced, it's a complete science in itself. Because everything is mantra, mantra ucharanam. So there comes this shiksha. Second limb is kalpa. Kalpa is related to rituals, how rituals have to be performed. Shiksha, kalpa, vyakarana, the Vedic grammar. How to understand the Vedas? You need to understand the rules of grammar. How do you understand the structure of a sentence, Vedic sentence? So, Vyakarana. And then we have Niruktam. Niruktam is etymology. Etymology refers to the root of every word. Sanskrit is such a beautiful language, the most scientific language existing in the world. Every word, it has got its root. And from that root, so many words are derived. Amazing. So, that is etymology. So, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, and Nirukta. And then Chandas. Chandas means what? Meter. In the Vedas, there are many sentences which are based upon certain meter. Some sentences are having no meter. So, there is a complete science of meter, Chandas. And the last one is Jyotisha. Jyotisha refers to astronomy or even astrology, which is all, these are all the six limbs of the Vedas. Now see, this all comes under the term Shastras. And these are all Smritis. These are not Shruti, these are all Smritis. So we have seen Upaveda and Vedanga. Then we have Shat Darshanas. Now, Shat Darshana is also based upon the Vedas, but they fall within the category of Smriti. Now, which are the Shat Darshanas? We know that. Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa. In this Uttara Mimamsa alone is Shruti. Rest, the five others, they all belong to the category of Smriti. Because they all have human origin. The founder of the Nyaya is Gautama, the great Gautama Rishi. Vaisheshika was founded by Kanada Rishi. Sankhya by Kapila. Yoga by Patanjali. And Purva Mimamsa by Jaimini. Uttara Mimamsa alone is the Upanishads. So, no, Upanishads also here, Uttara Mimamsa will refer to actually speaking Brahma Sutras. Badarayana's work, Brahma Sutras. So, when it comes to Darshana, all these Darshanas, they will fall within the category of Smriti Shastras only. Uttara Mimamsa will also be, it's a work of Badarayana Brahma Sutras. So, we have Upavedas, Vedanga, Darshanas, then we have Puranas. The 18 Mahapuranas, amazing, and innumerable Upapuranas. What does this Puranas do? Puranas takes the wisdom of the Vedas and presents it to the common man in the form of beautiful stories, inspiring stories. In fact, the common man's religion is essentially centered in Puranas, even today. Nobody knows the Vedas. Nobody knows the Vedas. Today, if you just look into the common man's so-called Hindus, their religious beliefs, it's all Pauranika, based upon amazing stories. I don't want to use the term myth, but they're all the mixture of history and, what should I say, mythical elements, Puranas, but there is an historical value to it. Amazing, inspiring characters which come in Puranas, they all embody the principle of the Vedas. So we have 18 Mahapuranas and any number of Upapuranas, which is the religion of the common man even today in India. Puranas. Then we have Itihasa. Itihasa, the true gate. Itihasa is Ramayana and Mahabharata. Very powerful, influencing the length and breadth of this land. Two great figures, one is Ram, other is Krishna. The way they have captivated the psyche of this Indian subcontinent. Why Indian subcontinent? You go to the whole of the eastern region, you go to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Bali, everywhere, Cambodia, everywhere you will find Ramayana and Mahabharata's depiction throughout. The common man understands religion through these means, through these amazing personalities called Rama and Krishna. So Itihasa, that also comes within the category of Smriti. Then we have Dharma Shastras, like Manu Smriti, Yagyavalkya Smriti, and different Smritis. They are the codification of how the human being will conduct in society. At different times, these great people like Manu and Yagyavalkya, they have left behind the codes of conduct for the common man. Now, these are all changing. With the change of the time, these laws or the rules of the codes of conduct for the human beings will change. They're all changing. They are not unchanging. Vedas alone are unchanging. But this also comes within the purview of Shastras. When you talk about Hindu Shastras, then Dharma Shastra is very important. Today, of course, because the Constitution of India is the main, now it is kind of a Dharma Shastra. You can say the Constitution of India is the present day Dharma Shastra, based upon which the human being is conducting his life in this country. Earlier it was Manusmriti, Yagyavalkya Smriti, etc. Then we have Agamas. Agamas is very important. Agamas are the teachings of great personalities. We have mainly 6 kinds of Agamas. Vaishnava Agama, Shaiva Agama, Shakta Agama, Ganapatya, Kumara, and Saurya. These are the 6 different sects which have existed in this country from, we don't know from when onwards. And we know how Shankaracharya was the first person. I should not say the first person. Even Sri Krishna has done it. But Shankaracharya specifically, he harmonized these 6 sectarian faith systems, all based upon the Vedas. Shaivas, approaching that supreme reality mentioned in the Vedas in and through a certain way of worship and prayer, which is Shaivism. Another way of approaching the same truth which the Vedas talk about is Vaishnavism. Then Shaktism, Shakti, worship of the Divine Mother. Then Ganapatya, the worshippers of Ganesha, Ganapati. And Kumara, worshippers of Kartikeya, which is very much prevalent in South India. And then Saurya, worshippers of sun worshippers. So this Agama is another category of scriptures which is very powerfully existing in this country even today. In fact, today, if you just look into the common man's religion, it is essentially, the common man's religion today is not Vedas actually. Who knows the Vedas? No Hindus knows about Vedas. Even the Upanishads, they are not known to us. The common man's religion today in the Hindu society, it is essentially centered in the Agama, Purana and the Itihasa. Three things. Agama deals with, see, there are West Bengal, it is Shakti Puja is predominant here. Shakta Agama, a certain way of doing pujas, rituals, the temple puja paddhati, it is all coming within the category of Agamas. Today in all the temples, the different rituals which we have throughout the length and breadth of this land, they all come from this Agamas. Shaiva Agama, a certain way of performing worship of Shiva. It comes from the Shaiva, this Agama Shastra. Then certain way of worshipping Vishnu, Vaishnavism. Certain way of worshipping Shakti. All this so-called, these are mentioned in these Agama Shastras. So if you look into the entire corpus of the so-called Hindu Shastras, this is the picture which emerges before us. Let me just simplify the whole thing. The category is two. One is Shruti, other is Smriti. Vedas are the foundation of everything. And in the Smriti category, whether it is the Dharma Shastra, whether it is the Purana, whether it is the Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata, whether it is Agamas, whether it is teaching of Krishna, whether it is teaching of Shankaracharya, whether it is teaching of Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, if any of these teachings, they conflict with the principles of the Vedas, you can reject the Smriti. That is the authority of the Vedas. In Hinduism, the ultimate authority in spiritual matters is the Apaurusheya Veda. No one can contradict it. Anybody's teaching which goes against the principles of the Vedas can be simply set aside. But the glory of all these great teachers, whether it is Krishna, Shankaracharya or Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, they were all the great retellers of the principles of the Vedas. This everybody should know. And no one is talking anything new. No one can talk anything new. There is a lot of talk going about new. Human beings not understanding the foundation of the Sanatana Dharma, we speak that some teacher is coming and telling us something new. No teacher has ever spoken anything new. And no teacher even in the future can speak anything new. Because the Vedas are existing eternally. And every great teacher is coming only to retell and represent the eternal principles of the Vedas. Did Shankaracharya preach anything new? If he had preached anything new, he would have been rejected. Did Buddha preach anything new? Did Krishna do it? Is Ramakrishna and Vivekananda do it? Nothing. No one. They are all retelling and representing the universal scientific truths of the Apaurusheya Vedas. And they embody in their lives the great principles of the Vedas. That is the beauty of these great teachers. Yes, every teacher comes with the changing times. He presents these universal truths according to the needs of the time. Shankaracharya might have emphasized certain things, one aspect of spirituality. Vivekananda and Ramakrishna may or might have emphasized some other aspect of spirituality. That's the only, if at all there is any difference between these teachers, the difference only is an emphasis depending upon the time and that historical time frame in which these great personalities had appeared. Essentially speaking, there is no difference in any of them because it's all Vedas. Going back, see, so Hindus should know our entire so-called religion in practice, which is completely based on the smritis, they all have their foundation in the Shruti called the Vedas. So, once again, to put it in a very simple language, today if you just look into a common Hindu's religious life, I'm talking about religious life, spiritual life, it is completely based upon the Agama Shastra, Itihasa called Ramayana and Mahabharata, of which Bhagavad Gita is a small part. Now you understand? Bhagavad Gita is only the small, very small segment of this huge corpus of Shastras which Hindus have. But undoubtedly, Bhagavad Gita is one of the greatest productions of all times. No one can doubt it. Bhagavad Gita is one of the greatest works of all times, universally applicable. So, you see, so the common man's religion today in Hinduism or Hindu society is essentially based upon the Agama, Itihasa of Ramayana and Mahabharata, of which Gita is a small portion, and the Puranas. They are all telling the universal truths of the Vedas, which have got no human origin and which are eternally existing, and they are all the scientific truths. So this is what Hindus should know, what we mean by Shastras. Common man, how many common people know about the Upanishads? They don't know. Vedas, they don't know. But they understand somebody is worshipping Shiva in a certain way. Somebody is doing puja of Shakti in a certain way. This is even today existing. They are all based upon the Agama Shastras and the tremendous influence of Krishna and Rama in this country through Ramayana and Mahabharata. And then Pauranikas, the Puranas, they are very powerful. They are very much governing the faiths of crores and crores of people in India today. But all of them are based upon the Shruti called the Vedas. To put it in a very simple language, Vedas are revelations. They are revelatory. And the Smriti, which I talked about, everything outside of Vedas, whether it is Upavedas, Vedangas, Dharmashastras, Itihasas, Agamas, Puranas, all of them are the application of that revelation in the Vedas. One is the revelation, the principles, and the Smriti is its application in the common man's daily life, which is seen in the Puranas, Agamas, Itihasas, etc. So one is the eternal principles and how it is being applied in the common man's life. That is what we find in the Smriti Shastra called Gita. Gita is the application of those principles. Shankaracharya's works, Agama Shastras, Puranas, it's all application of those eternal principles in the so-called common Hindu's life, to understand in the Indian context. So this is in short. So we should understand when we talk about Bhagavad Gita, we should know it's a, technically speaking, it is a very small portion of even Mahabharata. Mahabharata has got 1 lakh verses. Of that, Bhagavad Gita is only a small, very small portion. But it has occupied such an important place in the so-called, in our society, that it dominates because of its universality and because of its tremendous practicality. The universal principles of the Upanishads practically applicable even today and for all times. That's why Krishna is undoubtedly, in way, it would not be an exaggeration to say that he is the greatest teacher of the Upanishads of all times. So this in short is the picture of the Hindu scriptures as it is existing today. Now the next question is, why do we need scriptures at all? What are the scriptures actually dealing with, Shastras dealing with? Next question, let us touch upon this point also. Now scriptures, this is very important things. What do scriptures, when I talk about scriptures now, for us, it is Shruti plus Smriti is what is the scriptures for the Hindus or the so-called the Hindu community. When we talk about scriptures for the Hindu community, it is Shruti plus Smriti, not only Shruti, because only Shruti nobody knows. Based on the Shruti, we have Smriti Shastra, which is alive even today. So when we talk about Shastras in the Hindu context, it is Shruti plus Smriti. It's a huge corpus. What are they actually dealing with? That is the question. The answer to this question is that, you see, Shankaracharya, I'm a best teacher of this part is the great Shankaracharya. Absolutely. Simply, sparkling clarity. Shankaracharya says, to know that fire is hot, you don't have to turn the pages of the Upanishads. Do we have to? Do you have to go to Ramayana to understand that the fire is hot? Do we have to go to the Puranas and Agama Shastras to understand that the fire is hot? No, don't have. Why? That fire is hot and ice is cold and sun rises from a certain direction. These things are all known through our sensory system and the mind. Anything which is known through the sensory system and the mind, for that we don't have to go to the Shastras. I'm just giving you a free rendering of what Shankaracharya says. So Shastras don't deal with anything which is revealed to the sense organs and the mind. It is already known to us. Physical science. Shastras don't deal with physical science as such. So, what does Shastras essentially deal with? Shastras means, again, I'm telling you, Shruti plus Smriti. Please understand this point. When I'm talking about Shastra in the Hindu context, in the Indian context, we have to take it as Shruti plus Smriti. Smriti is the living religion and Shruti is the eternally existing Sanatana Dharma, based upon which this living practical application, the huge corpus, is available to us. So what does this Shruti plus Smriti actually telling us? They together are pointing out at that domain, that realm, which is not known through the senses and the mind. Two terms Shankaracharya uses in his bhashyas. Agyata Gyapakam Shastram. Shastram is Agyata Gyapakam, means that which is not known to us. Shastras tell us about that. Another very beautiful definition which Shankaracharya gives in his Brihadaranyaka Upodghata, he says, Pratyaksha Anumanabhyam Anavagata Ishta Anishta Prapti Parihara Upaya Pradarshanaartham Shastram. He says. What does it mean? It means that Shastram is the Upaya Pradarshanaartham. It presents to the humanity the Upaya. Upaya means what? Means. Means for what? Means for knowing about that which is beyond the domain of senses and the mind. What is within the domain of senses of the mind? Vedas, they don't concern about that. So Shruti and Smriti put together, their main concern is that which is beyond the domain of the senses and the mind. That means something which is non-physical, something which is non-corporeal. Whatever is corporeal, whatever is physical, it is revealed to the senses and the mind. For that, we don't have to open the books of scriptures. We are opening the books of the scriptures to know about that which is non-physical. That is why the English term comes metaphysical. Meta means which transcends the physical realm, which transcends the realm of senses and the mind. So essentially, Shastras, they deal with that which is not known to the senses and the mind. And this knowledge cannot come from any other source. It has to come through the Vedas, through the Shruti essentially, and then as expressed in the Smriti Shastras. Again, I'm repeating this point. This knowledge has to come only in double quotes and in bold. It has to come through the Shruti and Shruti alone, Vedas and the Upanishads essentially, and as expressed in the Smriti Shastras, especially Bhagavad Gita, etc., etc., etc. We have no other source. It has to come from that and that alone. Now, all the great teachers, they were all just retelling what we find in the Shruti and the Smriti. So this is the domain of the so-called Shastras. Shastras tell us about that entity which is not known to us through our senses and the mind. Now, what is that entity? Vedas tell us. Now, this knowledge, tell me, from where are we going to get this knowledge? Can our physics teacher or the teacher of mathematics or biology or chemistry, do they have the knowledge of this domain? No. No one has got the knowledge of this domain except a few rishis who have communicated to us what is existing there. So what does Vedas and the scriptures teach us? Essentially, the Vedas tell us at the core of this creation, there is a divine something. Now that is again beyond words. We are again using words to just hint at something is existing at the core of this creation itself. We can use the term divinity. There is a divine entity existing at the core. I'm talking at the term core. At the core of this creation itself, there is a divine entity. The Vedas call it as Brahman, Atman, Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is there at the core of this creation itself. And if at the core of this creation, of this divine entity called Sat, Chit, Anandam, Brahman or Atman is there, that means it is there at the core of every entity that is existing in this creation. So Vedas want to tell us that everything is divine here, essentially divine, potentially divine. Now you can connect Vivekananda's words. Why Vivekananda uses the term every soul is potentially divine. Each soul is potentially divine. These are all these great teachers, they are telling the principles of the Vedas. So, if at the core of this creation everything is divine, every human being is divine, every man is essentially, potentially divine. And this divinity which the Vedas talk about, it is a matter of faith. But it is not only the matter of faith. Mind my words. Initially, it is a matter of faith. Yes, you have to have faith in the words of the Upanishads, but it is not only the matter of faith. This faith, if you inquire into it, it gets translated or transformed into an experience. This faith gets verified. This faith gets verified. Then it no more remains faith. Initially, it is definitely faith, but this faith can be verified by anybody on this globe. Anybody. The person can be an American, an Australian, or anybody. So faith translated into a verifiable experience. This is what the Upanishads talk about. Now here one point. We have to understand this point. How Hinduism is essentially different from other systems. It is not the same. In all of the systems outside of this so-called Vedic system, they are all essentially belief systems in which God is somewhere up. Up means where, For them, this is the world, and what they are referring to as God is an extra-cosmic, monotheistic idea of God. God is existing outside of this creation, and He is a ruler who rules this so-called world from outside, and He is a person. And we have to believe in the existence of such an extra-cosmic person. And what is the belief? That after death, you go to Him. These are all beliefs which cannot be verified. There is no place for verification. And when a faith cannot be verified, that faith or the belief becomes a superstition. Once again, I'm repeating this point. A faith or a belief which is unverifiable, it will become superstition. On the other hand, a faith or a belief which is verifiable becomes science. Mark these words, very important. A faith or a belief which is unverifiable, it will remain as a superstition. Or a faith or a belief which gets verified, it will turn out to be a science. That is the beauty of Hindu system, which is only in the Hindu Vaidika system, which is a science, in which the element of faith and belief is there, but it doesn't remain constricted to just faith and belief. If this faith and belief gets translated into a verifiable experience, it becomes science. Electrons exist or not, nobody knows, nobody has seen electrons, but we have faith in it, is it not? Even a student of physics has to have faith in the teacher's words. Even a student of so-called model physics, he or she, that student, has to have faith in the words of the teacher of the physics. The teacher of the physics will say, yes, you see, you break this matter, there is atoms. You break the atoms, this is there, which is not perceivable to the senses. But initially there is a faith. But when the student inquires into it further, that faith gets translated into a verifiable experience. It becomes science. So faith and belief is the very foundation of any investigation. But if we remain constricted only to the faith, and if it doesn't get translated or transformed or evolved into a verifiable experience, then that faith remains as a superstition. This is the problem with most of the religions of the world, where there is no place for verification. That's why a large chunk of humanity is governed by mere blind belief systems. You have to just believe that somebody is existing up there, and they think that after death they will be reaching there. Whereas Vedas talk about God here and now. This very moment, you can experience it, I can experience it, not after death. See, we are discussing Shastras. Why do we need Shastras? And what is the uniqueness of the so-called Hindu Shastras? In which there is an important place for faith, but it is not limited to faith alone. Faith gets transformed or evolved into a directly verifiable experience. That is why these Vedas are pure science of human consciousness. It is a science of divinity. Whereas all other systems in the world, they fall into the category of belief systems. They are not scientific. And beliefs can, it can take the humanity in all kinds of directions. I don't know. See, I'm talking very openly. We are living in an age of science, AI, artificial intelligence, and whatnot. Today, can humanity be satisfied with just blind belief systems which cannot be verified, for which we have to wait until death or after death to experience a God somewhere sitting up in the sky? Who knows? Who has seen after death what happens? I want to see it when I'm alive here. This is the spirit of the Vedas and all the Smriti Shastras. I'm repeating this point once again. This is the spirit of the so-called Hindu Shastras, which is Vedas, Shruti plus Smriti. In our system, Shastra means what? Shruti plus Smriti. This is what the entire corpus of the so-called Hindu Shastras, which is the science of divinity, which is the science of human consciousness. So the question is, why do we need the scriptures? We need scriptures because this knowledge of this metaphysical entity, the non-physical dimension of this existence, which is not known to the human sensory system and the mind, that domain can be understood and can be accessed only by the Shastras, only with the help of the Shastras. Again, whenever I'm using the term Shastra, it means Shruti plus Smriti. Always keep this should be registered. Shastra means Shruti plus Smriti. Not only Shruti. Only Shruti, most of us, we don't know. We are all actually, in the practical plane, it is Smriti which is governing us. But the Smriti is completely based upon the Shruti. Smriti doesn't have an independent existence. No matter how much ever the great the personality might have been, personalities will come and go. Hinduism doesn't stand on any of the personalities. That is the beauty of it. Hinduism doesn't stand on any personality. Even if Ram was not born, even if Krishna was not born, even if Shankaracharya never came on the scene, Ramakrishna and Vivekananda never came on the scene, Sanatana Dharma exists. It is existing on its own. That is the beauty of our system. It is not personality dependent. It is apaurusheya. This every Hindu should know. At the same time, there is infinite scope for personalities like all these names which I have taken. Infinite scope. It will go on. Today it is Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. This is not the end. They will become the part of history. Many more will come in future. Many more powerful manifestations will come from time to time. All of them embodying the principles of the Shruti. And their teachings will become Smriti. It will go on. Today Vivekananda's and Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, it is a Smriti. But it is loaded with the principles of the Veda, Shruti. I'm using the term loaded. They embody the principles of the Upanishads and the Vedas, but they fall within the category of Smriti only. Yes, figuratively, we all, Sri Ramakrishna's teaching is the modern Veda. All these things we say, it is figuratively. Technically speaking, it is not possible. Vedas, they belong to a totally different order of reality. And any teaching coming from any personality, it will always fall within the category of Smriti. This everybody should understand. Yes, because their teachings are loaded and completely saturated with the principles of the Upanishads, we say that they are all like Vedas. Bhagavad Gita is also considered to be a Veda only, figuratively, but not actually. Actually, no, it is Smriti. So this is why we need scriptures. It is scriptures alone which can tell us that I am the Atman. Who can tell us that you are the Atman? Tattvamasi, this teaching. It comes from the Shruti and as elaborated in the Smriti. Tat Tvam Asi. You are not this, you are that. This teaching, who has given us this teaching? It is coming from the Shruti and as elaborated in the Smriti. And one of the finest Smriti is Bhagavad Gita. You understand? This is the overall mapping of so-called our Hindu scriptures. Every Hindu should know about it. So we need the scriptures to understand our true nature. And now see, different ways of experiencing this true nature. The entire Agama Shastras, the Shaiva Agama, the Vaishnava Agama, Shakta Agama, Shakti, the worshippers of Shakti, what are they doing? They are based upon the Agama Shastra, they worship the Divine Mother, and in and through that, they are also coming to the same point of Tattvamasi Aham Brahmasmi. They will come to that. The Shaivas, the Vaishnavas, the Ganapatyas, the Sauryas, all of them. That is what is the practically existing religion of Hindus today. In and through all those so-called practically ritual-based religion, in the temples you go, all the puja with the pujari is doing, that is all based upon Agamas, Agama Shastra. Next time when you visit a temple, when you see rituals going on, somebody is in the Divine Mother's temple, you will find certain kind of rituals. If you go to a Shiva temple, you will find different kind of ritual there. Shiva Linga is there. The things are done in a different way. If you go to a Vishnu temple, there the offerings will be of a certain kind. There Tulsi dominates. In Shiva temple, Belapatta, the Bale leaves dominate. Is it not? This is all based upon the Agama Shastras. In and through all that, what is happening? They are all helping us to go what the Shruti talks about, that you are the Atman. This is the so-called religion of the masses of the Hindus, which is essentially based on the Smriti Shastra, which itself is based on the Shruti, Vedas and the Upanishads. So that's why the common man needs the Puranas, Agamas, Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata. We need all these things. In and through all these things, the common Hindu man and woman is striving to realize the truth which the Upanishads talk about. So this is what is the... Now in this again, once again, one more point and I'll wind up. Essentially there are two streams of sadhana. One is the Jnana Marga, other is the Bhakti Marga. No, all this Agama Shastra which I talked about, Shakta Agama, Shaiva Agama, Vaishnava Agama, it's all Bhakti Marga. Beautiful. It's all Bhakti Marga. Puranas, it's all Bhakti Marga. Beautiful. That is what is the common man's religion. And there is also the so-called Jnana Marga, which is based upon the Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa in the Shat Darshan, the 6 philosophical schools which we have, in which Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya Yoga, and Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. When we talk about Uttara Mimamsa, there comes Vedanta. Vedanta's method is Jnana Marga. And Jnana Marga, there the Marga is what? As the Upanishads have spoken about. Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. This Upanishad itself talks about. It's a time-tested method. Most powerful method of discovering the statement, the truth of the statement that Tattvamasi. It is Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam told in the Upanishads itself. Those who find that method difficult, they can fall back upon the Bhakti Marga given in the Agama Shastras. They can fall back on the method given in the Agama Shastras and in the Puranas. So in this way, broadly speaking, we have these 2 ways of realizing our own true nature in the beautiful corpus of spiritual wisdom under the banner of Hindu Dharma or Sanatana Dharma. So this is in short the painting of the so-called Hindu scriptures or Vedic scriptures we should know, and how it is totally different from the so-called other scriptures. All other scriptures, they are born in historical time frame. They are all based upon personalities. Some person came and his teaching became Bible. Another person came, his teaching became something else. Hinduism is not based upon any personality. It is based upon the universal scientific principles of the Vedas, which are eternally existing. That is why it is referred to as Sanatana Dharma. This is what actually every Hindu should understand about what we mean by our scriptures. So let's find out this. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti Harihi Om Tat Sat.